Hey, y'all, this is Lew Temple, and you're listening to Dr. Chris on Radio Horror. Good on you.
This is Dr. Chris's Radio Horror program here at 91.3 FM, WCW in Worcester, Massachusetts. If you're not catching this recorded interview live, then hopefully you're catching it on the Radio Horror YouTube channel. Tonight on the show, from the new movie Limbo, which is about a man, a murderer, who finds himself on a trial in hell caught between a bitter prosecutor and an inexperienced defense lawyer, with a great all-star cast. From Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, a mess of Rob Zombie movies, a lot of anime I wasn't aware of, and The Walking Dead, we have Lew Temple on the show with us. Thank you for coming on, Lew.
Oh, Dr. Chris, so great to be on your show, and I'm honored that you would have me, and excited to be here, talk all things horror with you, and maybe some other things as well.
Did you ever read growing up The Devil and Daniel Webster? Because that's exactly what your movie reminded me of.
When I was growing up, I did not, but I'm well aware of that book, so you know, I think Limbo is very novel. I think it's an interesting idea, and it's presented in a way that will get you to think, and I hope it did. I hope you were able to get up into your headspace and wonder a little bit. And thanks again for watching it. I so appreciate that.
It's got quite a pretty big cast for it, too, which is great for a small independent movie like this, with Scotty Thompson from 12 Monkeys and Veronica Cartwright and the legend, of her from Alien. And you got, people from like Jigsaw and Criminal Minds and Transformers. That's really cool that they have a really decent cast together. How was the cast on set working together, and how long were you filming for?
Well, it was amazing, and you're right. Thank you for referencing that. I have to give a lot of credit to Mark Young, who understood entirely that this film was going to have to be built without a lot of rehearsal, and so because it's a rather wordy piece, there's a lot relies on the timing of the words spoken. So he understood that he wasn't going to have the opportunity on a small indie to rehearse everybody. So he really focused on casting with, real pros that had a lot of experience, that were able to come in, bring something to the party, adjust quickly if need be, but really bring it. And everyone did. Every character has this life that lives in front of you, this arc, and it was just so delightful and delicious to get to watch them. And you referenced Scotty Thompson, for instance, who plays the angel Cassiel. She is so great at having this cool, disconnected, demure demeanor, and yet she's still rather uncertain about herself, and she doesn't have a lot of experience in trying to navigate this new world and still maintain a certain authority. Veronica Cartwright, legend, to get the opportunity to work with her was a gift, and she was so great. The work that her and I had to do is difficult, and she was so focused and so easy with it, and delightful and fun, and she brought a lot to the game. She has an amazing stillness in her eyes. There's actors with amazing eyes, and she's one of them. Like Meg Foster. I guess it goes all the way back to the Betty Davis eyes, but Veronica's got these eyes that can pacify you, but also heat up with fire, and it's incredible, I have to say. Richard Riley, who is in everything, so charming, great face, just invites you in to adore him. And we have a scene, and his story is so forlorn. He just wants to go to Disney World, and I'm a mortal that lives on Earth that could care less about it. So it's about taking for granted your life. Chad Lindbergh makes an incredible cameo. Andrew Elvis Miller, and then of course James Purefoy, who plays Old Scratch, the man himself, Satan, and does it with rather dismissive George W. Bush, style, which was cool. And Peter Jacobson, who spits out his dialogue like Mammoth. He's just rapidity with the words, da, 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 and they sting and they bite and they hurt. And So everyone really brought great colors to the process, and that was Mark in casting, and his casting director Shannon McCannion, and that goes a long way to helping build a good film.
Limbo was something I don't think Limbo's used a lot in movies. I think it's a place characters pass through, and then but there's never I don't see a lot of movies that are just focused on that one specific area of the afterlife. It's usually heaven or hell, or limbo, something you just walk through to get to your destination in a lot of movies or television.
Great, yeah. Limbo is really interesting, and the idea that we don't reference it a lot in our storytelling, and yet we spend a lot of time in limbo in life. Think about all the time that we just wait. We wait for things to happen. We wait to get a call. We wait for somebody to respond. We wait to get something in the mail. We wait at the DMV. I mean, all of these waiting is part of life, but it's also a certain purgatory that we're in, and we accept it. In this case, it's such a novel story because it is your soul being judged. It's a courtroom drama for all you listening. And your soul is on trial. Mine in this case, and I haven't lived what you would call an exemplary life. And then I'm in purgatory on trial for my soul being defended by an angel sent from heaven, and the prosecuting attorney is a demon from Satan, and they're going through the courtroom machinations on whether I'm to go north or south. And you start to realize when you see my life, there's no way this is going to go. And then it starts to take hold, and you start to just get a sense maybe he is going to get out of this, and at least my character does, which was the challenge for sure in the work that we were doing, to go through all the emotions in this limbo space, this purgatory, which was a confined room, and kind of give it all these colors of confusion, to anger, to resentment, to despondency, to hope, to excitement, to having it all spin out as well. So I love the story when I read the script initially, and it was ideal. I thought we really were building something a lot of fun. So, and I think the audience is going to love it in the same way.
I was probably first introduced to you through the just a massive amount of work you've done with rocker director Rob Zombie, and it's always cool to see you pop up in a role. 31, Halloween, Devil's Rejects. I don't know if you were in Lords of Salem.
I was not in Lords of Salem. The only other one that you missed was Super El Bisto, his animated feature. I made a little cameo in there. Adam Banjo did.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I've had the opportunity to work with Rob and continue to work with Rob. He's another example of somebody who focuses on bringing people in that he knows are going to bring a certain life to the character, as much that allows him to free up to work with new actors as anything. I know what Lou and Bill and Jeff and Richard and David and Scout, I know what they're going to do, and it's going to serve my story. And then I'll figure out on these new cats, Malcolm McDowell or whomever it might be, it'll give me a chance to work with them. So I'm very honored to be in his ensemble, and when he calls, I answer the phone and just say yes. He's such a great storyteller, because he's a fan like everyone else. He's an audience of this genre, and he grew up with it, and he understands it. He loves the Hammer films. He loves pop music from the 70s and the 80s. He loves comic books. He loves these things, and he's always recreating those to keep evolving and growing those great stories that we all grew up with. So he's so much fun to work with in that realm. That being said, it is a day's work. It's really focused. It's rather intense. I always say about Rob, he knows what he wants, and he wants what he knows. And by the way, if I'm not mistaken, and I might be, but I think he is a Massachusetts native.
Yes, he
Uh,
is. Yep.
just up the road from you, I think.
Yep. Haverhill, I believe.
Right. Yeah.
It,
That's
it
it.
might it might be Haverhill. I might have the town mistake. I always get what town he and Eli Roth are from because Eli Roth is also a Massachusetts native. His family lives here too.
Wow. What are you guys putting in the water up
I
there?
don't
That
know,
makes a
man.
lot
We
of
got
sense,
we got
man.
Stephen King in New England. We got the shark over in Cape Cod for Jaws. We've got the Salem witch trials here, so that's a Halloween
Y-
hootenanny every year. I don't
Yeah.
know about this year, but
Well, let's just give the East Coast the nod for all dark things, at least. It's because the sun sets earlier over there. You get dark first, so you get to jump on the scary things before the rest of the country.
we do. We really do sometimes. Do you what what are some things you've been keeping busy with yourself while Hollywood's kind of shut down and you trying to maintain your sanity during quarantine?
Glad you asked. That's a good question. It's a good question for all of us. So, not to put any pressure on anyone, but I'm hoping during this pause that everyone's kind of taken the opportunity to reconnect with a passion. I know you're busy as you've ever been with your podcast. So, obviously,
And I'm filming too.
you're you're filming.
Yeah.
Wow. So you haven't you haven't lost any step. The first thing that I did on my wife's suggestion, cattle drive from Texas to Montana, 102 chapters, read every chapter every day, one chapter a day, uh, straight through, starting in March, and we finished up in June. It was, at some point I invited friends in to read with us. It's on YouTube. I uploaded it on YouTube for free. You can just go to Lew Temple YouTube, and there's a chapter. So if you need a little background noise, there's something there. If you're a big cowboy western fan, or you like the mini series, we'll present the words to you, and they're amazing words. So that was great. I've been a real student of my calendar. So in other words, I build a to-do list. Morning at 6 a.m. I've got a prison uh, workout with cinder blocks in my backyard, and so I just go and hit that, and that gets the blood going. Been reading a lot of books. Hopefully, we're all catching up on our reading scripts. I got hired to write a script, which I will finish up in the next 2 days, and I'm really excited about that. It's a fishing story, a South Texas fishing story. That's entirely cool. I put up a storytelling, a vehicle to engage folks to get out and tell their story, whether it's writing their novel or just their script. It's called The Texican. Material that I've had in my career, and deleted scenes or live shots in a particular film, speaking about what happened before Bill Moseley and I tangled in Devil's Rejects. Why was he so mad at me? Because I kept spitting blood in his hair, and he had to get his hair clean between every take, and it was so hot. And it's things like that. So that's on Patreon. I've had a few auditions. There's been 2 movies that have come to me that have wanted to get going, and they've been pushed. Unfortunately, they're not quite up to speed on whatever our
what you got to do is just
safe
create some.
practices are.
You got to create something yourself and film it yourself. That's kind of like what I decided to do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that is the thing, right? I mean, typically, because we're all kind of confined, we're all in a little bit of a purgatory or a limbo. So you might as
Right.
well make good practice of it, and an ideal,
And if you're in
put your
California,
thoughts.
it's I feel bad for you, man.
We've had our share of spikes and ups and downs. Everyone's trying to be vigilant about safe practices, but we have a lot of people and a lot of different people, so it gets complicated is probably a good word for it.
Gotcha.
But we're going to get through it. So I've been focused. I haven't spent a lot of time in in depressive limbo. I've been let's get things done, and I'm pleased with it. I'm really happy with my use of my time. I think it's a good time to reconnect with friends. I've called more people than I have in the last 5 years, just to check in. Certainly, we've been active on Zoom conferences and podcasts, radio, and television interviews. I've still had film premieres. Look, Limbo's coming out. That's
Yeah, it comes out
really hoping
August.
good things. Everybody's watching material now, so
Limbo comes out
August
August 4th, I believe.
is it the 4th?
Yep.
Yeah. It's interesting when they always say DVD. Do folks still actually physically buy the DVD? And when they say DVD, do they mean Blu-ray?
Well, sometimes, yeah. I mean, if you want like collector's edition things that are through like Vestron or Criterion or Scream Factory,
Right.
Shout Factory still puts out TV shows on DVD, but a lot of their films, their cult films, like what did I just pick up? I just got 13 Ghosts, which is the remake from the old, William Castle movie from the 50s, and a lot of people, and I'm sure all of these fans already have these movies and have watched them hundreds of times. The Friday the 13th box set just got pre-ordered like through the roof on Scream Factory's website, and everyone probably owns those movies that's a horror fan. You know what I mean? And they just blew it out of the water for the Scream Factory's biggest pre-ordered item comes out like October 13th. Brand new bonus material, all in HD. Well, hopefully. All these bells and whistles and stuff like that. So yeah, there is still a Blu-ray DVD collector's market out there, and people say it's dead.
So that
but up here in New England,
they still have the device to service. Are they collecting it so they're not breaking the wrapper, or are they actually putting it in a DVD player
they're watching
and
it.
taking a spin?
Yeah, they're watching it. There's not a lot of market, I think, out there for like sealed DVDs or Blu-rays. I mean, stuff that goes out of print does have a high value, whether it's sealed or unsealed. So I haven't seen a huge collector's market for like the steel sealed Blu-ray. You know what I mean? I usually see that for like an action figure or a model kit or something like that. You know what I mean? A toy usually, or a comic book that's been sealed is got a big demand. But a Blu-ray DVD, I don't see that too often. Video games, yeah, sometimes I see video games going for big high bucks if they're still sealed. Especially games that are out of print.
How often? So I've got some Blu-rays, I've got some DVDs, and I don't have a player. My player's broke. It doesn't work with my smart television somehow. I mean, what we don't have disk drives in our laptops anymore. How are people playing these?
I mean, PlayStation is the biggest thing.
Old equipment. Oh, okay, PlayStation. Thank you.
PlayStation 4, Xbox X. I don't know if I know the Switch doesn't have a disc drive on it, but I mean, people still buying Blu-rays and DVD players. But yeah, I mean, gamers. That's usually how they'll do it because they can also stream with Netflix and Vudu and Crackle and Disney Plus now, Amazon Prime through the PlayStation.
No doubt. Interesting. And thank you for bringing that up because a lot of people don't know that about me or even about anime. But a small company in Houston, Texas called ADV was one of the first little companies to purchase Japanese anime titles. And it was a couple of geeks. I use that term affectionately. And they had figured out we can bring these titles over, get them translated, and then we'll use some of our local talent, and a lot of us were Texas. Well, all of us were Texas actors. So sometimes these Japanese anime characters have a rather southern twang to their voices, and we would match the lip flaps. So we would go into the studio and meticulously, syllabically match lip flaps, and I'm telling you that was some work, particularly for what we were getting paid, which was nothing. But yeah, we did all of those. Like Burn Up W, Evangelion, so many titles that Gamma Ray. It was really a great experience because you had to match lip flaps, but also because the characters were so diverse and we had to do so many. So you had to use, different voices for almost everything that you did. You were always really stretching your range. And, today's anime is so much technically advanced compared to what we were doing then. But that was the OG, man. That was the first stuff that I think, again, collectors really get turned on by.
I'm very picky with my anime, and so I'm always on the lookout for something I've never seen before. But man, it's gotta be good, because sometimes I've gotten into anime that I'm just like, oh god, I just wasted like an hour and a half of my life on this thing, and this is like so incredibly hard to follow, and I don't understand
Yes.
any of the motivations of these characters. Like, God, I remember one time there were like stores had like aisles upon aisles of anime. It was crazy. Or there was always that one VHS store that it would have like the weirdest anime that your mom may not want you to watch or whatever, but it's not exactly completely inappropriate, but just based on the cover art alone, you're looking at what the mostly the women are wearing, and you're just like,
Yeah.
I gotta hide this from my mom. She can't let me watch Honey whatever, like Dirty Pair
Exactly.
Flash,
Oh,
which is
yeah.
one you did.
There were titles we were doing and things we were,
Slayers, that's another one.
referencing, and I was like, I'm not sure this is for kids. It's a cartoon, maybe, but not like a kid cartoon. I don't think we, are going to get away with this. And they just push through. Now, keep in mind, out here in Los Angeles, you go down to Little Tokyo, they actually have anime stores with exactly what you're talking about, with titles that you can't even imagine, and they're all in Japanese with some English subtitles, I'm assuming. But it's crazy.
And that Supernatural podcast I told you I do, which is about the monsters that appear on Supernatural that Sam and Dean fight. So we don't talk about the show as a review. We talk about in real life, the life that me and you live in, about like, oh, so this monster that's on the show and Sam and Dean fought it, but it actually originates in Barcelona or over in Africa, or it's part of this religion that's over in Australia or something like that. And my co-host for that podcast actually lives in Japan.
Oh, that's so great. That just brings, a whole new culture and a whole new set of ideals, because the Japanese anime, I think, is different in storytelling. That's why I think it's so great. And the things that you're talking about that are really bizarre and nonsensical, I think those are the exact things that tickle our imagination. They are hard to follow, and I didn't know half the stuff. I couldn't, I couldn't connect with half of the stuff that I was doing, but thankfully I was being directed. But yeah, I'm really proud of that original anime opportunity, and some of those cats that I started with, Spike Spencer and Amanda Lee and Tiffany. I'm trying to think of Tiffany's last. They're still big anime players.
Wow. Well, Lou, where can people find you on social media if they want to drop you a line? Or do you have a Twitter or an Instagram?
Yeah, totally. Lew Temple Actor at Twitter. I know that's really original. At the time that I built that, I didn't know a lot about Twitter, but The Walking Dead made you get a Twitter account. So
yeah.
I thought, oh, well, that'll be cool. I wished I would just stuck with Lew Temple, but it's Lew Temple Actor Twitter. Instagram is just Lew Temple. The Patreon account is the Texican, and Lew Temple YouTube and IMDb. You can check out what I got coming out in the fall after Limbo. Limbo, as you said, is the 4th, so we're very excited about it. I have another film that's modeled after the Goonies. You seem like a Goonies fan, Chris.
Okay,
Chris.
what's really funny is I was just at the drive-in last Friday, and they played the Goonies back-to-back with Back to the Future.
That's perfect. Time travel. So our movie's called Time Crafters, Treasure of Pirate's Cove, about a good old-fashioned pirate time traveling from the 1700s to modern day seaside Renaissance fair, where the pirates just fit in with all the reenactors and looking for their treasure. And our 5 heroes find it, and then hijinks ensue. And of course, we've got time travel attached to it. So I'm really excited for that. We have Malcolm McDowell and Denise Richards and Eric Balfour in that, along with myself. And that was a movie that I helped produce. So I'm really proud of it. And I think there's not enough family adventure films. So I was really excited to do that. So keep your eye out for that, as well as Limbo.
Cool. Awesome. Well, Lou, thank you so much for coming on the show with us to talk a little bit about Limbo and everything else in your career. It's an absolute pleasure. It was fun meeting you at Rock and Shock years ago. Hopefully, when this whole thing is finally over with, we can meet each other again at a convention.
I'll look forward to that, Dr. Chris, and good on you for keeping keeping the word out there and singing the gospel as horror goes. And we appreciate your support and all that you do, for sure. Hey, y'all, this is Lew Temple, and you're listening to Dr. Chris on Radio of Horror. Hey, y'all, this is Lew Temple, and you're listening to Dr. Chris on Radio Horror. Good on you.